Hi, so we're going to talk about the research proposal very quickly. I want to walk you through how to set that up. So looking at your assignment sheet here, the instructions tell you that a research proposal is a universal requirement across all fields of study. And it's an incredibly useful prerequisite in research because it allows you to gather thoughts, some initial sources, and create a reasonable timeline that adheres to your own schedule to complete the essay. And so that's what I want it to be for you, is a resource where you can kind of get your thoughts together, make a plan that's reasonable, that's doable for you with what you have going on with your schedule, and make writing the essay seem a little less scary in terms of how much time it will take. So I hope that while you're doing this, you can think thoughtfully about what you're researching and why. One thing that you use a research proposal for is to make sure initially that you're finding that there are lots of sources you can look through. You only have to choose, let me see, 3 academic sources. It says down here 3 academic sources. But hopefully, while you're looking for those 3, you're finding that, hey, there's a lot of sources out here for my topic. Now, if you start doing this proposal and you find, I'm not really seeing a lot of stuff out here, shoot me an email. Please loop me in on that so that I can help you find sources, or if all else fails, so that we can kind of discuss a different perspective to take on your topic that actually has research done on it so that you can write your essay. Okay. So your research proposal should include a tentative title. Please don't title it research essay. Let's start thinking about this actually being an academic research paper. Your research question or idea. This can be stated however you'd like. It's probably going to be the first sentence or two, that first part of your introduction when you first start your proposal. You need to tell me why. Why is this important to research? Why is it relevant to us to research this topic today? And we talked a little bit about this last week, about establishing the correlation between this really old item that you found in the archives and how it made you start thinking about your topic, and then why your topic needs to be researched, needs to be discussed, needs to be further looked into by society. How's it going to help society? How is it going to make sure that society doesn't repeat past wrongs? These are things that you can start thinking about. If you're having trouble with coming up with sort of this relevancy and bridging that gap from past to present, again, email me. I'd love to talk to you about it. And we can work together to come up with that relevancy. And then tell me about the intended audience. So this isn't something that we've talked about yet, but every piece of writing has an intended audience. So for example, even like Facebook statuses, we can start with that. There's an intended audience. I think everybody's seen the status that's like really passive aggressive, and it's like, we all know who you are. We all know that you were talking about so and so the other day, but it never says the person. But like, there's an intended person that's supposed to be reading that status. That's an intended audience. The same thing goes for like writing applied to commercials. I like to use the one commercials for kids. So the kids, the commercials are always really flashy. There's lots of bright colors. There are other children playing with whatever's being sold, and it's geared towards children. It's written for children because they're the ones that can get money out of the parents' pockets better than someone else can, right? So who's your intended audience? The intended audience is going to be the people who can do something about the topic. That's really simple. Just who has the most agency to act on this topic, to answer these questions, to do something about this in the world today. That's your intended audience. And it will also include other people who are studying similar things to your topic in your field of study, which you're going to talk about this week. Then you're going to come down to a different section. This is all going in the intro. You're going to come down to a different section and go into research. So how do you expect to gather sources? Are you going to use the databases? Are you going to conduct interviews? Are you going to go back to the archives and look for other sources to help prove your point? What was your plan for finding sources? And that's very simple. Just answer that. Then you come down to a different section titled Sources, and here you'll list your 3 chosen academic sources. They need to be cited in MLA format. When you find your sources on the library database, there is a tool that will cite them for you. Don't get hung up on trying to cite these things manually. They change all the time. I can't even remember how to do it. So just, don't be ashamed to use the resource that's there for you to cite it. And then you're going to create a timeline for me. So this next section is titled Timeline. And it's just a tentative timeline that's going to say when you're going to research, when you're going to write the draft, and it should start by next week and end, of course, when the rough draft is due, the Sunday of week 10, October 31st. So 8-track only will do the closing section. So this should be one last paragraph that's 5 to 7 sentences that further discusses the impact and the necessity of the research. So for this, you'll need to think beyond the classroom and think into the field of study that you are going to be in conversation with about the topic. So what would it mean if this research was taken further than a mere 102 class? Like what does it look like? How would it be impactful? Why? So then think further about what you want to leave your readers with, like a call to action. Should they feel like they need to do something about this topic? Should they feel like they need to change something? Should they begin to think differently about something? That's all going to be used in the conclusion of the essay. So don't lose what you work on here for the closing. But again, this closing is for 8-track only. If you're cool with a B, just do these instructions: introduction, research, sources, and timeline, and you'll be good. All right, so I come down here and I give you a sample research proposal. It's going to outline what goes where and give you some tips on how to complete it. And we can go over how to set that up. Okay, so we'll start at the top. Everything needs to be in Times New Roman, 12-point font, double spaced. And you'll put your name here. You'll put my name here. The class is English 102. And then you'll put the date. It's just written out, so no abbreviations, no numerical date. It would be October, whatever the date is, 2021. And then you can put research proposal with a colon, and you'll put your title after that. And then you start your first section, which is the introduction. So there is a way to set this up. Let me see if I can move this thing. I don't know if I can move. I can. Okay. So there is this introduction. I've got it set on heading 3. And that'll help you formatting your paper, just going ahead and setting that up. Now, a lot of times when I click heading 3, I have to change it back to Times New Roman and black ink instead of blue, because I think that Word automatically puts it as blue ink. So you'll just have to change it back, but using that heading will help you set up these sections. Okay, I can move this down now. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Okay, so in the introduction part, what you'll do is you'll start out by introducing your research question or your idea, and then you'll go into why it's important that research is done on this topic. You'll talk a little bit about how this question or idea is relevant to a present day. That's, again, establishing that relevancy. and talk about who the intended audience is for the research, who can actually use the information to make a difference. And then you'll also start thinking about the call to action, meaning what is it that you're going to leave readers with? What should they do? What should they change? What should they think about on the topic after they read your paper? This paragraph should be about 5 to 7 sentences, should be about half the page. And what I mean by half the page is, like, as long as you make it to right here, you'll be good. Just know that you won't be able to answer these questions with like one sentence per question. You're going to have to expound upon it a little bit. You're going to have to start critically thinking about your topic, and you'll start doing that here. You'll come down and you'll do the heading 3 again for your research. It's not making it any bigger font-wise. It's just setting it up to where it's going to be a little more left justified than your text below it. So this next paragraph is going to talk about how you expect to gather sources. So are you going to conduct most of your research finding scholarly articles in academic journals, or are you going to search back through the archives to find similar items that pertain to your topic and why you're going to do that? Are you going to conduct interviews, do ethnographies? What is it that you plan on doing to come up with sources for your essay? And then not only that, but you need to go ahead and start thinking about what you expect to find with this manner of research that you've chosen. After you finish this paragraph, so we're looking at around 5 to 7 sentences in length, you can then include the citation for the 3 sources you found in your initial research. So remember, it's MLA format. There's a citation tool in the database system that will generate it for you. And you can go ahead and offset your heading again, and then you'll give those citations. Remember, for MLA format, the citations, there's a hanging indent. So you'll have, there'll be an alphabetical order, and the name will be left justified, and then the hanging indentation then is established when you come onto the second line, and you'll tab over for that. All right, and then the last section for those of you who are not on a track is your timeline. So I've got my section set up again, heading 3. And this is, you don't have to include anything right here, just go into your timeline. But I wanted you to know that you can do your timeline in any format that makes the most sense to you. So I didn't just make up this research proposal. Actually, most of my research proposals that I've done require me to have a timeline of when I'm going to do my research and when I'm going to write about my research. And so what I do my timelines for those research essays, I usually go on a week-by-week basis because I'm a big picture person and I need to see it as a whole before I can begin to fill in, like, okay, so this is the big goal, so these are the little steps I have to do to meet that big goal. However makes the most sense for you, please do it that way, because I want it to be a resource for you. I want this to be helpful and useful for you. So please make this timeline in a way that most makes sense to you and in a way that you think will be most helpful to how you think, and that will be most applicable to your life at the moment. Okay, so I won't go into this, or yes, I will. I will, because for those of you who might want to do something similar, I've broken it down, and I've got 3 weeks to do my research and to write that first draft. And that might not seem like a lot of time, and then again, it might seem like a lot of time to some of you, but that gives me a big picture of what I have to do and the time that I have to do it in. And so for week 8, the big thing that's due next week is going to be your annotated bibliography. Week 9, what's due? The big thing for week 9 is 4 pages of your essay. And then week 10, the big thing for week 10 is 4 pages of your essay, the compiled essay. The draft is done. So I've gone and broken up what I can do